Welcome to Soul Lab, a Christian-based podcast utilizing logic, history, science, and scripture to better understand the Christian faith. And now your hosts, Delaney and AJ.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of Faith and Fitness, Honoring God with Your Health. We are excited to continue the conversation today. We have the Amber Lia, world-renowned author and health coach, and we're just going to get right back into it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Now, your newest book, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of on the subject of these new battles that we face as human beings,
Yes.
specifically what are our teenagers kind of going through? Can you speak a little bit about that?
I think one of the hardest things as a parent is not going through your own troubles, but trying to or watching your teenager go through their troubles, because you feel oftentimes powerless to know how to help them. And, it's one thing for me to experience my own pain. It's far more painful for me to watch my child in pain.
Right.
And my oldest son, Ollie, is very transparent about his journey with, some pretty significant mental health struggles. He has gone through bouts of depression, definitely anxiety, to the point where it's debilitating and really scary as a mom and a dad to watch that, and for him as well. And then you navigate the aftermath of when they go through some pretty dark moments or some episodes, we'll sometimes call them. Then they feel so guilty afterwards. They feel ashamed afterwards.
Right.
And so you have just this roller coaster that teens are going through. And you can look up the statistics out there, but it is rampant that we are in mental health crisis as a culture, and certainly our young people. And oftentimes parents don't realize how significant the struggle is for their teens. Ollie and I and his dad and brothers have really healthy relationships with each other. So he was pretty transparent with us, but we could see him spiraling. And so we ended up facing a lot of the things that teens face, bullying at school, trouble on sports teams, the pressure of academics, the friendship conflicts, magnified by the chats here and the social media there and all of the pressures. It's really debilitating for a lot of teenagers. And they don't have the life experience yet or the maturity yet to know that this isn't the end of their story and that they can get through this. And then there's the spiritual component too. The enemy is a prowling lion seeking whom he can devour. And I think he wants to devour our young people. Long story short, my husband Guy and I have been walking with Ollie through a combination of, counseling, supplements, medication, a lot of spiritual, growth opportunities, all the things. We've done them all. And Ollie, thankfully, has been very transparent. He decided to start an Instagram account last year called Walkin' with Ollie, and he just speaks to his peers.
No way. Good for him.
Yeah, he speaks to his peers. I mean, he had, millions of views on his videos in like weeks. It was crazy.
That's
so
great.
the need was high, but that tells you, the need is really high. I mean, he like quadrupled his, following, which he doesn't care about, and I don't either, but just to tell you the need is there. What I took 10 years to grow, he did in 3 months. But that was like a light bulb for us that this is such an issue for teenagers. Stress, anxiety, depression. And so Ollie and I, I've been faithful about reading through my Bible every year since 2000. So this is my 25th year. It is God's word that has saved my life over and over again. It is my firm foundation. It is my daily bread. And
you read through the whole thing every year?
I do. Sometimes it takes me a year and 6 months, depending on the year, but usually not more than that.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that.
It has been life-giving to me. I can't imagine not doing it. And so I've passed that on to my boys. I've always loved to read devotionals. And so with them, it's looked different in different ages and stages of life, but we always have time where I'm doing that with my boys.
Yeah.
And so Ollie and I were like, you know what? I really feel like the things that we're learning, we're getting feedback from thousands and thousands of teenagers about what their biggest struggles are. Let's take that and speak into it through a devotional. So we wrote a book called You Are Seen, 90 Devotions for Teens Who Struggle with Stress and Anxiety. And it just came out in October 2025. And we basically took 15 different promises of God.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when we're struggling with stress or anxiety, we think it's all on us. We think we're the only one. We isolate. And we want teens and adults to know you are seen. And not only that, but like all the different categories are all rooted in scripture, but they focus on things like you are treasured, you are chosen, you are forgiven, you can be peaceful, you can be healed, you know, you are guided. You know, there's just all of these beliefs that are true in scripture that we need to meditate on when our mind is out of our minds, when we're anxious, when we're stressed, when we're feeling the overwhelm of pain.
Yeah.
We need to take those thoughts captive, and we need to feed truth into our brains and our minds. And that's what Ollie and I have learned to do over the years. For him as a teen, that's what's really turned his life around. And so we're hoping that with just a little bit each day, teens can have that same help. So each day there's a verse, there's some encouragement from Ollie as a peer, and then some encouragement from me as a mom who's walked the path with her teen, and then a prayer. And then we have a couple of amazing doctors and counselors that have given some practical insights along the way through the book as well.
That's fantastic.
That is
I
really
love
cool.
that. Yeah.
So what I think is really incredible, the first thing you mentioned about Ollie is he felt comfortable and being, I guess, open and being vulnerable and saying, hey, here's how I'm feeling. I think that speaks to you and Guy's parenting skills. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Because I do think that's a big opportunity. We don't have children, but I know when I was a child and when I was a teenager, hang out with other teenagers, and I now get to mentor teenagers.
Yes.
And what I see as a common opportunity is a lot of parents, I don't think, prioritized allowing there to be an open door policy where it's like, hey, you can come to me with anything.
right.
And I think there's a lot of anxiety, depression, negative emotions that come from just like them not being able to talk to their parents.
Yes.
So kudos to you guys on keeping that door open.
Thank you.
But yeah, also on the book side, though, I think it's really cool because you guys got to co-author it,
Yeah,
right? So
we
you guys
did.
worked
We
the whole
wrote
thing
it
together.
together.
I think that's the
so
coolest
cool.
thing.
I'm so proud of Ollie because he, despite all that pressure, you know, he'd go to school, he'd get off at 1:00. You know, a lot of friends or peers would go to lunch or take a nap or whatever. He'd come home, he'd write with me for about 2.5 hours. Then he'd go back to football practice or whatever.
That's really cool.
So when something's so close to your heart, like it is for he and I, we just have this burden for others that are struggling with stress and anxiety. We care about their mental health and their spiritual health. And so that was a big driver for us to be disciplined enough to do the work. To the point about the health journey, like, I don't know that I would have sustained writing all these books all these years if I didn't have the energy and the capacity to do it. So it all, you know, feeds into this is allowing us to fulfill God's purposes for us, which I'm really thankful for. But I'm really proud of Ollie, and I consider it a huge gift that we had that time to be able to do that together and to have that legacy. And he dedicated the book to his next youngest brother, Quinn, which I thought was really sweet. You know, brothers helping brothers there.
That's awesome.
Incredible.
That's
It
awesome.
makes me emotional.
All right. Let's get some wisdom from you, Miss Amber.
Okay.
Do you have any, because not only have you have these books that you've authored, you as well have the health coaching business.
Yeah.
What are some practical, maybe faith-based habits that you would recommend for mental and physical resilience or mental and physical improvement?
Okay, so just from super practical, again, water. Everybody needs to that's something everybody can start today. Like just increasing the water, because again, that does affect the mind and all the other things. So that's a big thing that I like to focus on with clients early on is getting the water going. It also makes you feel full and more satisfied in addition to everything else. So also practically protecting at least 7 hours of sleep at night. We live in a culture that is
Yeah.
I know that for myself, one of my habits was, and this is really about exchanging an unhealthy pattern for a healthy God-honoring habit. So I had these unhealthy patterns like staying up really late, the kids would go to bed, or maybe it was just a long work day and this is my time to chill, you know, watch TV or whatever. And for me, I would also eat ice cream. So that wasn't a good combination. So then I would stay up too late and I wouldn't get enough sleep at night. So getting enough sleep, it affects your cognitive thinking. That 7+ hours, you know, ideally 8. And everybody kind of knows where their sweet spot is. Some people are like 9 hours is what I really need. And for others, it's 8, you know, but we say scientifically, you want to protect at least 7 hours of sleep. So getting a good bedtime routine. I like to, even just practical things, we turn off screens, you know, before bedtime routine. I even like to do a little bit of soft music, light some candles. Like listen, we get to create our own atmosphere. We forget that we just sort of, again, get caught up in the flow of life instead of being more intentional to create a life that we want. And so the bedtime routine can even be part of that, like just creating an atmosphere that's conducive for sleep. And we don't nail it all the time. There's plenty of times when we're going from one baseball game to a wrestling match to a football game to who knows what, and it gets late at night. But we try to really protect sleep. So that's another just simple, practical thing. And then also, I think this has to do with not doing things in excess and being willing to be self-sacrificial, but our portions of things that we take on, like even just like your meals, the portion size. If we just balance, like my kind of guide is like 5 to 7 ounces of a lean protein, 3 servings of some kind of a green, like a kind of a lower carb veggie, non-starchy veggies, and then some starch too is important. But just having that balance, a colorful plate. A lot of things we kind of know, but we can even overdo it on a good thing. So like I eat off a 9-inch plate. We don't, we have very large dinner plates at our house, and then we have the smaller like 9-inch plate, and that's what we eat our meals off of, our whole family. We don't use a bigger plate. We just watching the portion sizes. But that lends itself to spiritually too. Again, that verse about the boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. And when we have boundaries, like there's a reason when we're on the road that we have lanes and that we have traffic lights. We know that if we just let it loose, it's going to be a disaster on the road. And yet we reach into a bag and just eat mindlessly. I love nuts, but they're very healthy for you, but I could tend to overdo it. So when I get a bag of nuts, I portion it into smaller containers so that that's my serving size. I do a lot of food prep. It doesn't take a long time, but doing that allows you to have proper portions. So even that, it can be a spiritual practice. Lord, this is me. I don't have to overindulge. I don't have to be mindless about what I'm doing in any area of my life. And the more mindful we are about, am I bearing the fruit of the Spirit? When you come away from time with me, do you feel like you were with Jesus? Like you feel blessed? Do you feel encouraged? Did I speak words of life into you? That is where I want my mindset to be everywhere I go. On the road, in a store. It's the way we love people by loving God. And that does take, again, intentionality. It takes discipline. It takes boundaries. I have to die to myself. This is a lot, I know. But in those small things that we do, where we become more and more intentional and mindful with portions, drinking our water, creating the environment we want for rest, all of that can be from a place of, this is because I want to honor God and I want to do things well and I want to make the most of my life and my impact on others. So it all just comes to fruition in that way for me.
I love it.
Yeah. I like the comment you made about the colorful plate too, because I didn't know that until recently. That's important, like having the different colors, even if there's like things in them that your body needs. I learned that recently. It's fascinating to me. Wow.
It's amazing. It's so cool. Again, God is amazing. If you look, like, our world is not an accident, and the things that God grows are not an accident. They are powerfully effective for our overall health and wellness and longevity. There's a Netflix documentary, and take everything with a grain of salt, but Secrets of the Blue Zone, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's really interesting because it's talking about longevity, and I've done a lot of studying on that, and it mentions a lot of the things we've talked about too. And it's just about moving your body. It's about everyday movement. Yeah. That's another kind of practical thing too, is stooping to pick something up when you drop it. Like I used to always ask my kids, can you hand me that? Can you hand me that? And now I'm like, nope, I'm getting it myself. Putting your shoes on one at a time, balancing without holding on to something. I'm at an age now where I'll be 50 next month. And so it's all about agility, because I want to be able to, when I'm 85, put up my own suitcase in the overhead bin on an airplane when I go to visit my grandkids or my great grandkids. I don't want to have to be on the wheelchair. And there's some things we're not going to be able to control, like things happen. But as much as it's within my power and opportunity to do, I want to steward those things well. Yeah, all of that to say that documentary just gives some really great insight.
Yeah.
But the more you know
Check it
about the
out.
colors on your plate, the more you know about little things you can do to help with agility long term,
Yeah.
the better off you'll be. So
Yes.
learning to not just be in your own little bubble,
Mhm.
but to really learn about what does health and wellness mean. It's so much more than a number on a scale.
Yeah.
It's very.
So you mentioned a bunch of great advice just now. If you were, and you mentioned at the beginning, like, hey, it's all about little daily changes.
Yes.
You don't have to do everything tomorrow, but maybe you can start with 1, 2 or things and then move on from there. So would you prioritize or say it if people were to start with water, sleep, and
Yes.
portions? Would those be like your first 3?
Absolutely, 100%.
I like
Yeah.
that. Write that down. Water, sleep, portions.
Because even if you're addicted to sugar, say,
Yeah.
and you're used to, like me, having 3 massive scoops of ice cream at night, and you go down to 1 consistently for a while, is that going to be better for you?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And you may feel like I literally almost did not start my health journey because I didn't think I could not have ice cream. I was very concerned about that, which to me seems silly now because by God's grace, I could care less about ice cream.
Isn't that interesting though?
I could care. I'm like, why was I so enslaved by that?
It's interesting, right? Like when I know it's silly, but I was addicted to Dr. Pepper. And I remember thinking like, how can I not drink this?
Yes.
And now I don't drink it at all. And I'm just like, why was that so hard? Or I thought it would be hard, but it really wasn't. I thought it was a big deal, but it's really not.
Yes.
So people are probably listening and they're like, wait, I'm gonna have to do this
Yeah.
and that. And I'm telling you, once you give up these certain addictions, these things, you're shocked about how easy it was and how
Yes.
little of a deal it was. So
Yes, you gain a lot more. You think
Yeah.
focus on what you're losing. Like I
Yes.
can't have that. But what I'm trying to teach my clients and what I've learned myself is what are you gaining? Okay, so if you're going to set aside the Dr. Pepper, what are you actually going to gain? You're going to gain better sleep because you're not having all that caffeine. You said
Yeah.
you've struggled with sleep. You're going to gain much better health and wellness with your organ function because you're going to be drinking more water and that's going to help. Your skin's going to get clear. I mean, my hairstylist, she's always, Amber, you have the best hair. It's so healthy, even though we put it through a lot of stress in the salon. And it's because I drink my aminos, my essential aminos. It's because I drink a lot of water. You know, there's so much that we can do to help ourselves. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
I've gained so much more by getting rid of the ice cream. I don't miss it at all.
Yeah. So we talked about water, sleep, and portions on water. So just making sure you said an amount earlier. Can you say that more
Yes.
time?
So a good rule of thumb is for the average person, it's going to be 64 ounces. So
Okay.
8-ounce glasses of water a day. And here's a really cool practical tip. And I will admit it took me about 3 weeks to get up to that when I first started because I was getting like maybe 8 ounces of water a day. I was mainly coffee, sweet tea, or soda, whatever. And so just give yourself the time that it takes. Don't feel like you have to do it all in one day. You'll feel like you're going to float away. I get it. You won't. You will adjust. You won't be in the bathroom peeing constantly.
Yeah.
Eventually, your body will do what it needs to do. But yes, 64 ounces is a good rule of thumb. If you're sweating a lot, if you're working out, if it's a hotter season of the year, you're going to want to compensate for that and drink
Right.
more. But 64 ounces. And so what I would do is I would put a water bottle everywhere I was.
Yeah.
On my desk at work, in the kitchen, in the car, wherever it was highly visible. And I would play a game with myself. If I saw the water bottle out of the corner of my eye, I had to take a sip. Is Amber, just take a sip. This isn't about feeling thirsty or wanting it. This is about a healthy discipline, a simple habit that you can do. Can you do this? Yes, you can do it. So just do it. And so sometimes I'd be like, oh, I didn't see it. And then I'd be like, Amber, yes, you did. Like, I
Yeah.
was playing a game in my head, like, did I see it? Yes, I did. Okay, take a sip.
Yeah.
And now it's so automatic.
Right.
It is, I just never go anywhere without my water bottles, and neither do my kids. It's just an extension of my arm that I have my water.
And I think that's a really good tip. So I've learned, now when every meal I have a rule, I have to have water with it.
Yes.
And I keep a bottle of water in my office while I'm working. I keep one by the bed.
Absolutely.
We keep some in the podcast room. I keep one next to
Yes.
behind our cameras, there's my gaming corner. I keep water in my gaming corner. But I found if I just leave water around where I am during the day,
Absolutely.
it makes it a lot easier for me to get my intake.
It does.
And it's surprising how easy it is now.
Yep.
Like I don't feel like I really struggle with it. It's not like I have to count it anymore or anything
No,
like that.
I never
So-
count it. I know I'm getting well over what I need.
Yeah, you can kind of feel too, once you've been drinking enough water, you're like, okay, I feel like, that's the right amount today.
Yeah.
The next thing, anything you want to talk about water?
No.
The next thing you mentioned is sleep. I think is like the most under-discussed health tip.
It
is, my goodness, if you don't get adequate sleep, it affects you not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Yes.
There's been a tremendous amount of studies on this. Go check it out.
That's
You
right.
just Google sleep studies. And yeah, you've got to get proper sleep. Where I think people mess up on sleep is this. They think I can just say, okay, I'm going to try and get my 7-8 hours, whatever, and then I'm going to get it. No, there are a lot of structures, rules you have to put in place, things you have to agree to for you to encourage proper sleep. And like you had mentioned, like you guys have a rule at this time we shut down electronics.
Right.
That's absolutely awesome. I think you have to create for yourself a system. And like, for example, we know if you go to the bed the same time every night, that helps.
Yes.
Stop eating at this hour, that helps.
Yes.
To get the proper amount of water in the day, that
Right.
helps. But if you really want to get great sleep, you can't just do one or two things. You really need to do as many, if not all, of the things.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I had a buddy that was struggling with getting sleep. And so I went and made him like a checklist. And then after I was done making it, I was like, maybe I should be doing this thing. So now I have that document. I use it now I'll review it and be like, am I doing those things? But here's the deal. The law of entropy, for those that don't know, states that the world as we know it naturally doesn't lead to order. It leads to chaos. Things naturally get out of whack. What keeps it towards order is work and focus and attention, right? So everything naturally, the law of entropy is so true. You have to work to keep things organized and keep things going. Your sleep is that. You have to create these rules, these systems. You have to follow them no matter what life throws at you. But I'm telling you, if you can get consistent, good sleep, my goodness, does it make you just your whole life improves.
It's where your body repairs itself at night is when you're sleeping. It's so critical.
It is absolutely. And I think you're right. I think I've read a few studies on it. I'm sure person to person is a little different, but at least 7 hours of consistent sleep.
Quality
Or if you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
And naps. I tell my clients too, it's not as ideal as if you can get it in sustained, measure, but take naps if you can. If your schedule is such or your lifestyle is such that you can get, 20-minute naps here and there too, even that is also helpful. Don't be afraid to do that.
I could definitely use some naps. Here's another study, kind of referencing prayer. So at the Duke University did a study. People who pray regularly show greater stress resilience and lower inflammation markers throughout their body, which I thought was really interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's just kind of thought that was really interesting. And I think there's a lot, we're taught when we pray to be thankful, as an example.
Yes.
And I think that's an opportunity for us to kind of humble ourselves, recognize the positive things in the world, put us in a better mindset. I think that's really critical. Once again, to your point, God is a genius. I like to say he is this infinite IQ being, more intelligent than we'll ever possibly be able to understand. And we're told specifically to pray and to be grateful. And I think it's more so for our benefit.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of cool that we can actually see some data where that ties that in, showing
He has the answer to
benefit.
everything. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note, when it comes to your health journey with prayer, I found that it was interesting. We would pray over food that was clearly not going to be a blessing to our bodies. We would always say, bless this to our
Bless this
bodies.
Taco Bell.
Thank you for this food. And I don't think God can answer that prayer. He's not going to bless this in my system. Like, I'm going to have to reorient how I pray over my meals. Like, I want my meal to be worthy of that prayer, that God would bless this meal.
Absolutely. That's a good point too. I've thought that before. Sometimes we're praying. I'm just like, should we really be praying about this?
Yeah.
This doesn't seem very healthy.
Yeah, it's like God can answer every prayer, but I don't know if he should.
That's true. That's it. That's it.
Sometimes
He does answer.
Yeah, he can. I don't know if he should, right?
No.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Maybe throw some greens on that plate. We'll talk about it.
It's like, don't eat that.
All right. Any tips, Amber, you would have on just small daily steps you can honor God by being a good steward of what God gave? Any tips like how you can honor God using what he gave you?
Yeah,
physically?
I think common sense. He's given us common sense. So another specific tip would be, I think that our food battles really start before we even get to the grocery store. So one thing that I tell my clients to do if they're just really struggling is don't try to be your own hero. If it's difficult for you to go into an environment that is tempting for you, like we yield to temptation when we linger around it. So minimize that, take advantage of grocery delivery or pickup, order online, stick to your list.
Yep.
We shop the perimeter of the store, where we should be in and out of the grocery store, honestly, in 10 to 15 minutes if you are going in. You're getting your things that are all, in the produce section, your protein, all of that. Like that's where we spend the most of our time shopping because that's what's going to be healthier for you. So just having that discipline to not put yourself in tempting situations. Don't go down the cookie aisle. Don't go down the ice cream aisle if that's a hardship for you. Know what your limits are. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you're bad or weak or you can't handle it. It just means that you're wise by not putting yourself in a position that would be tempting for you or challenging for you. It's okay to be tempted. It's just, what are we going to do with that temptation that matters?
Right. So Amber, you talk about something I'm really passionate about, specifically in like taking care of yourself, is know your limitations. Everyone has their different battles, their different struggles. And as an example, if you're an alcoholic, you shouldn't keep alcohol in the home because you know that you struggle with that.
That's right.
If you struggle with being on your phone at night before bed, then you should probably charge it in another room, right? Do know what your limitations are specifically, what are the things you battle, and then put boundaries in place. And I love the idea of, hey, if you struggle with getting the right things at the grocery store, maybe don't even go, like order online. And we order online to save time, but you can also do it as like a wall of protection as well. And just know your limitations. And I would also say, I try not to, how did you word this earlier? Don't overcomplicate it at first. So for example, if you're struggling in an area, make little daily decisions to try and improve that area. An opportunity I see when I'm mentoring people in fitness, and I definitely don't have the experience you do, but I try and help people, is I start with their diet because that's usually that's the major opportunity. If you're struggling with physical health, start with your diet, in my opinion, and then move on to physical training after that. Because it's a lot easier to not eat a donut than it is to go run 5 miles to burn off the donut.
And you need fuel too. You need healthy fuel.
Healthy fuel to be in the gym.
Absolutely.
So on the diet side, starting small, in my opinion, is starting with just caloric intake. A lot of people try and get too early into like macros, carbs, protein, fat, and then micros as well. And I'm like, you really don't need to start there. It's kind of funny. There was a guy who was trying to teach, it was a science teacher, and he was trying to teach his students this, like how to be healthy and take care of yourselves. And he wanted to teach them, you can literally just start with your calories as a whole. You probably shouldn't be eating 3,000 calories a day at their age. And so to do it, he wanted to prove to them, like, that's kind of the biggest thing that you need to focus on. And so he said, hey, tell you what, you guys pick the restaurant. I'm only going to eat from that restaurant for 6 months. And they picked McDonald's to prove the point. And so he only ate McDonald's for 6 months, but he counted his calories. Amber, I wouldn't advise that.
Yeah, that's stressing me out just thinking about it.
But he actually lost, 60 pounds of unhealthy. He ate his right amount of calories. He lost 60 pounds of unhealthy weight. And his doctor said he's the best healthy he's ever been in his whole life. And that's not a bit to eat McDonald's. I don't encourage people to eat McDonald's every day. But it's to show statistically, the small start would be just look at your calories. Because you can go to the nicest restaurant on the planet. You can go to a super holistic, you can go to Whole Foods and you can still get the wrong, or eat too many calories. I say start with the calories.
And then you can really then also focus on nutrient dense calories. That's where I like to try to educate my clients as we go along. It is calorie reduction, right? We know that's important. You want to be in a good calorie range for whatever your goals are and what your body is, and whether you're male or female makes a difference, all those things. But also really focusing on those nutrient dense calories. There's not going to be a lot of those, necessarily at certain places or for certain foods that we eat. And this has been like the blessing of the shift for me in my health journey and helping my clients, is that when we get to a place where we're also wanting to eat nutrient dense foods, healthy calories, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. That's what's actually going to help you fight disease. That's what's going to help you have the longevity and to feel better. At this age, I want to feel better. I don't want to groan rolling out of bed, not being able to get up the stairs. I want to make the most of how I feel. And so it's the nutritious foods that's going to help me get there. And you know what too? I was so dumb because I thought that ice cream was so delicious and all these other, fried chicken and all these things are so delicious. And they kind of are if you've conditioned your palate to crave that. But when you detox from that, that stuff actually becomes so unappealing to you. It actually makes you sick. Like when I think about the things I ate before, I literally am repulsed by them. And my whole world of, my palate has changed dramatically. The things I crave has changed dramatically. And I have a whole new world of things that I enjoy now. I would have never eaten spaghetti squash personally before. I was so missing out. What was I
actually
thinking?
do like spaghetti squash.
So good.
It is really
so
good.
And all these other, nutritional things now that I eat for value, but they also are delicious. I was really missing out before by limiting myself to the traditional American diet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing I used to do all the time when I was a kid was I ate so much candy. It was ridiculous. I had this horrible routine where every Saturday morning I would collect as much candy as I could through the week. And every Saturday morning I'd watch cartoons and eat all this candy.
Yeah.
They're so unhealthy. I have no clue how I don't have diabetes.
Yeah.
But it was so bad. But now it's funny because now the only time I really have sweets is before I go to the gym. I'll usually take in some carbs of some sort. Sometimes I will give myself like a quick digestive, like a something high sugar, like ice cream, because that's the one time you kind of get away with it.
Yes.
You eat this much.
spike.
But I only have like that much. And to me, that's
You know
plenty.
what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of ice cream, and I'll have a couple bites or something, and to me that's like plenty.
I feel full. I'm like, I can't do it.
if I try and eat more, I'm like, that's disgusting.
much.
Yeah.
It's too much. But
It's
to
too
your
much.
point, your body does adapt.
Yes, it does.
And now now I'm eating different kinds of meals, and to me, like grilled chicken is delicious. Fried chicken feels kind of gross.
Yeah.
It feels painful. There's
Yes.
there's some foods I eat now that I used to love that I'm like, they're really grossing me
I
out.
went to the movie theaters recently, and we all got a thing of popcorn, and it was so salty. I leave the theater, I was so sick. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I ate like
can't do
probably
it.
that much.
Yes.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We love our own air popped popcorn at home.
There you go. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I'd be curious, would you be, and if you're not allowed to do this or if you don't want to do this, it's totally fine. But I'd be curious, can you share any client success stories or testimonies? Is that okay?
I would love to. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I always respect my clients' privacy, but some of them really live it out loud because they're so excited about their transformation. And honestly, for many of them, it's obvious because you can see the visual transformation is just indicative of this radical internal transformation. And so they're glad to share their health journey. And so one story that really almost makes me cry. It does make me cry. So my first job that I ever got, I was a teacher, and my principal, Elaine, was morbidly obese. She really struggled, and I have always loved her. She was my first mentor, my, first person who believed in me, offered me a job. And over the years, eventually I went to teach at a different school. We kind of lost track. And this was, almost 30 years ago. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And a long time ago when I first met Elaine, she actually hired me in the summers when I was teaching. And when I was in college, I would run the day camp for the school. So long time. We go way back. She's known me since I was a teenager. And she was a single woman at the time and really poured her whole life into being a principal and pouring into us as teachers. So there was a special relationship there. Fast forward, years later, I'm married, I have kids, and I go on this health journey, and then I end up at this new church, and she's at that church. And so she had actually lost quite a bit of weight, but she was still struggling. And she had, meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, been going through several cancer episodes, where she was battled cancer, recovered, and then new cancer, and then recovered. And so she had just finished her third round of going through cancer and surgery and radiation and chemo and all the things. And so she said, Amber, I've been watching you now, for a couple of years on social media, and I have done pretty good, from where I was when I was first knew you, but just the surgeries, the recovery, I'm on, she was on like 18 different medications because of the cancer. She felt so swollen and inflamed. And so she was like, I'm going to join you. I've been watching you. I've done my research on you and what you do. And so I'm ready. And, she really hung in there with me. It wasn't as easy to help her navigate some of her obstacles because of all the medical things that she was facing. But within a year, she had lost over 80 pounds. She was off all but one medication that she'll probably need to take for the duration of her life. But, she's in her, 70s. She's loving life. She is traveling all the time. And that was one of her whys when we first talked was I said, Elaine, why do you want to start this health journey with me? Why are you doing this? And she said, I have a lot of life to live. Here she is in her 70s going through cancer for the third time. And I'm not ready to put a pin in it. And I loved that about her. And so it's just been a joy to see her health absolutely transform. You know, when you have the right plan, when you have the right mentorship, the support is another piece we haven't talked a lot about, but just having that support, that accountability, that cheerleader there makes a huge difference. So many of us try to diet in the dark or do it on our own, and we struggle, and then there's no one there to help us out of that pit. And so I am a radical believer in having that coach support or accountability or community or all three to help you. But Elaine's story brings me so much joy because I'm always seeing pictures of her all over the world traveling and doing amazing things and living her life medication free.
That's great. You said 18?
Yes,
So,
18
wow.
medications.
That's incredible.
And she's very transparent about her story. She shares it. I have two new clients, both who came to me 3 months ago with fatty liver disease, both who just had their blood work and seen their doctors. Neither of them have fatty liver disease.
Oh, wow.
Considered fatty liver disease anymore.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Pretty amazing. I have 4 clients that are all in-laws right now that they're all in their 60s, and each of them was on insulin for diabetes and other issues. All of them are off their insulin.
Wow.
And their metformin, their blood sugar normals are better than they've
That's
been in
incredible.
30 years. They're just thriving. It's just so cool to see what God's doing. I love my teenage clients. I work with a lot of teens who want to be healthy and, you know, be better athletes and things like that. And just seeing them make small change, it gives me a lot of joy. And so many of my clients also, they just have that relationship with God that they get closer to Him.
Yeah.
And so we get to see them like, no, I feel like I can actually do it. I feel like I can actually live in a place where God, I know I'm honoring God with what I'm doing. So the medical part is incredible. Like we literally can reverse metabolic dysfunction. 90% of Americans currently are suffering from metabolic dysfunction.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So the statistic is very scary.
Yeah.
So we see that resolve pretty quickly, just helping their metabolism stabilize, their blood sugar stabilize, just through proper nutrition, water, body movement. It's amazing what God can do. So like I
Absolutely.
said, every day I get to celebrate my clients. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I love how you've talked a lot today about how, you know, you can go through 10 years of poor stewardship of your health,
right.
but you can change it in 1 year. You can
Absolutely.
absolutely, like, you do all the right things for a year consistently, you can have radical changes. So for those listening, I mean, I think a lot of people, you just go through your life and every year it gets a little harder because you get used to how you are. And the more so your mind, I mean, I think the devil is a piece of this too, but you kind of lie to yourself and say, this is just who I am. I'm stuck like this. I've been doing this for so long. Amber has made it really clear today. You can change your entire life like that with making the right decisions, but you can change your health, mental and physical, like a snap of a finger.
And
Keep
I tell
doing the work.
people, my clients too, just take it 3 hours at a time. You know, it's really easy to kind of get overwhelmed to think, I don't think I can do that for a year. I've got Christmas coming and all these trips and these occasions. And so we never start our journey because we're always, you know, we're sabotaging our future and our health for 1 day or 1 trip or 1 week, and 1 meal, 1 day, 1 trip, 1 work event does not sabotage your whole lifestyle. So it's really about, let's just take the next 3 hours. For the next 3 hours, can I drink a glass of water and eat something healthy and take my thought captive and ask God to help me? Of course I can. And when you get to the end of that 3 hours, just do it again. Say, okay, for the next 3 hours, could I do this?
Right.
Yeah, I could do that. Okay, great. And do you know what happens when just 3 hours at a time, you do that for a year? That's a radical transformation in your life.
Absolutely.
I
Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I like the small broken down steps. I think that's key.
Yeah.
I guess for now, we'll go to, if you don't mind mentioning, is it food triggers, right?
Yeah.
So you have a book. Actually, if you want to, now would be a great time. Would you mind for our audience kind of listing out the different resources you provide and where they can find them?
Yeah, absolutely. AmberLia.com. My last name is Lia. So just AmberLia.com. There's a resource page there with lots of free resources, as well as a list of all my books, both my parenting books, my book, Food Triggers, Exchanging Unhealthy Patterns for God-Honoring Habits. That book is, you know, years and years of working with thousands of people. What are kind of the 31 most common issues that people struggle with when they're trying to get healthy? And how can I approach those biblically, like with scripture, and grow spiritually through this journey? And then the devotional that I wrote with Ollie, You Are Seen, is listed there as well. And all my books are available wherever books are sold. And I would say that if people also are interested in health coaching, you know, I have a 3-minute little health form, just a little wellness assessment on
Yeah.
my website that they can fill out.
awesome.
And if they do that, then they'll hear directly from me. And we'll just see where they're at
I
and
love it.
how they can take some steps to move forward. My coach support actually is free, believe it or not. But we have a lot of different options they can choose from for paths forward to whatever their needs are for health and
Yeah.
wellness. So
I just want to make sure you guys heard that. She said her support is free. Go take advantage of this resource, guys. Like, that's incredible. And we'll put in the show notes. We'll make sure to put your website and the books as well so that our audience can go quickly, just, find that
that'd be
and get in touch. I'm assuming on social media, if they just put in Amber Lia.
that too, yes, on Instagram and on Facebook, the real
Yeah.
Amber Lia or just my name, Amber Lia, it'll pop up. There's a lot of content there to help encourage you on your journey, whether it's in parenting, marriage, healthy lifestyle. It's all there, and hopefully it'll be a blessing.
You guys got to follow her. I love it. Any final encouragement you would offer or challenge you would offer to the listeners?
Yeah, I would say it's much better to live when you pick a purpose instead of picking a poison.
Mm.
And so if you feel like your life is poisoned in some way by the way that you are living your lifestyle, your relationships, just take some time to honestly look at that and say, what poison am I picking? Is it the poison of bitterness? Is it the poison of sugar? Is it the poison of, hopelessness, anxiety, stress? And know that God didn't intend for us to live in that place, that we're
Absolutely.
supposed to live in a place of life. And there is purpose in all of these areas of your life, even your
Yeah.
challenges, even your struggles. God can bring great purpose from them, like he's done with my life. It's anything I've done is because God has been so faithful and good to help me find
Right.
purpose in these different areas that have previously been real challenges and struggles for me. So your story's not over yet. There's a lot of
I
hope.
like that.
I do that quite a bit.
How about you, my love?
I would say start with one small change today, even if it's
Yeah,
the 3
like,
hours or
absolutely.
just water, just something small, just to see what kind of difference that makes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say because we kind of have a mixed audience, for our non-Christians, people that wouldn't call themselves Christ followers, I would say you should want to make these changes. Amber has listed out all the benefits of making these positive changes in your life and how it's not about removing things or losing things. It's all the things you get for doing the right
You
things.
gain.
To our Christian followers, to people that would call themselves Christ followers, I would say you're called to do that. I said this, earlier that, we as Christians are going to be held accountable one day for our stewardship, and you are absolutely called to take good care of what God gave you. And I just, I want us all to get to heaven one day and get to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And I think this is a piece of that, is be a good steward of what God gave you, because we will be held accountable for that one day. So anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
So Amber, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. That concludes our episode of Soul Lab. I have been your host, AJ,
And I'm Delaney.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Soul Lab with AJ and Delaney. You can find all materials referenced from today's episodes in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website for more episodes and stay tuned for the next release. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.